bag alert, folks. That's right. I was going to put out an episode yesterday, but I decided to redo it because there's a lot of things we have to over, as well as I was finally able to watch the Eagles and Patriots game, so we might as well want to just, tweak, just tweak a few things, So, JOK, gets paid. Matthew Judon gets traded to the Falcons. Justin Simmons signs with the Falcons, right? Okay. Jordan Phillips gets traded to the Cowboys. Lawson signs with the Cowboys. Matt Malno tore his bicep. And we have to talk about the Eagles and Patriots game last night. All of this and more, okay, on the 24th episode of the greatest football podcast you could possibly listen to on a day-to-day basis. I am your host, your bag Rodamus, your chief bag meteorologist, okay, your GM who still is not on the team right now but has assistant GM interviews lined up going into the weekend. And yes, we are still in New York. I'm still eating a chopped cheese the Aki way. You already know what I'm getting ready to say. It's Kale. Let's lock in. All right, folks. So let's just get into the news. Okay, so JOK Jeremiah. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but everybody just I called him Jock. Some people call him JOK, but linebacker for the Browns inked a 3-year, $39 million extension with them. He gets $25 million in guarantees, and he's making $13 million a year. Now, when you look at his stats, last season was his best season so far. 2 picks, 6 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 3.5 sacks, and 5 quarterback hits. Now, when you're looking at those stats, you're probably thinking, those are okay, those are good, those aren't, the best stats, but those are really good stats. They are, because Jock is basically a Swiss Army knife for the linebacker position, especially for that Browns defense. The way that they use him in various situations sort of enhances his skill set, because and I only remember this because I was a big Jock fan when he was coming out of Notre Dame. The way that Notre Dame used him is sort of like the same way that the Browns use him, right? So there'll be times where they'll use him as, they'll use him on the edge. There's times where they'll use him in coverage against a tight end. They just move him everywhere, right? He's always on the field. He's always doing something, right? And there are times where he'll make a big play, or he'll force an incompletion or force fumble or whatever the case may be. So JOK definitely has become a problem, right? A good problem when you really look at it, because you're talking about somebody who has the athleticism, has the speed, has the height, and everything else to be able to match up against a tight end if he needs to rush the passer, if he needs to, and do whatever else if he needs to, right? And oftentimes, it's rare to have someone like him, like his skill set, to be able, to have that flexibility, to be able to play, both outside and inside linebacker, and do it at a pretty good, level. That's rare. That's very rare. So for him to be able to do it, that's really good. The Browns lately have been prioritizing, keeping their own players and re-signing them to, pretty decent contracts. Nothing really crazy to really talk about with this deal. Honestly, I think it's a great deal for both parties. It's not necessarily something that's earth-shattering or anything that's going to cause any problems in the future. I think this is a really good deal. Not necessarily a long, drawn-out deal, but it's good. And by the time this contract ends, he'll be able to re-up and get another contract. So congratulations to Jock. Now let's get into Matthew Judon getting traded, right? Because that also tags along with somebody else joining the Falcons as well. So Judon, former New England Patriots, got traded to the Falcons, right? So the Falcons, of course, received Judon, and the Patriots received a 2025 third round pick. Now, when you look at this, this is a really good situation, right? Because Judon goes into a better situation than what he was in, right? While at the same time, the Patriots begin that process of stacking up a lot of picks because that's what they need at this point because they're going through a rebuild. They're going through a complete rebuild, a complete change, right? That old era and whatnot is gone. Bill is gone, Brady, Julian Edelman, now Matthew Slater, the McCourty brothers, Gronk, all those guys, they're gone, right? And so, you're now in that phase where you need as many draft picks as you possibly can get, right? And so, you just make this type of move, especially with, Judon being disgruntled with the contract offers that the Patriots have basically given him. So he's just like, bump it. I just want to be put in a better situation. Now, I will say this, according to Jeremy Fowler and other sources, a lot of people were reporting that the Bears were also in the mix to get Judon as well. So it definitely shows you that there was a market for Matthew Judon, regardless of what anyone may say. But I will say this: it does put a lot of I wouldn't say that. This is what I'll say: the Falcons now have a premier pass rusher, that's been needed for a pretty long time. You're talking about somebody who has been consistent, who's gotten double-digit sacks, who's made big plays when need to. That's who Judon is, right? And they haven't had someone like that in a long time. But now that you have that, right? Now that you're able to like really put that defense together, because I truly believe that Raheem Morris is definitely that next generation of really great defensive minded coaches. I do. I think it's between him and D'Amico Ryans and whoever else that may be that may be coming next, that is definitely going to really do something when it comes to defense. And they already have who is it? They got AJ Terrell. I think they still have Jesse Bates as well. Then you also have Grady Jarrett as well. So it's like they have pieces. They have pieces. Not to mention with them also adding Justin Simmons. Yeah, we have to talk about it now. We definitely have to talk about it, okay? Justin Simmons, former All-Pro safety for the Broncos, inked a 1-year, $8 million deal with the Falcons. So you have him on top of Jesse Bates, on top of Grady Jarrett, on top of all the other free agent acquisitions that they made so far in this one offseason alone. They are going to make some noise. They are going to be a problem, okay? That right there is the best team in their division. I don't care what anyone says. That is the best team in their division. You have a quarterback who he's not going to wow you with stats and numbers, but he is going to do the best. He's going to make the best play possible in order to win the game. That's what Kirk Cousins is, all right? And there people like Drake London and Bijan Robinson, they are now going to have a stable quarterback for the first time in their career, in their professional career. They're going to have a stable quarterback. They're going to have a quarterback who is going to be as consistent as he possibly can and is going to directly feed them the ball, right? At a very high clip, okay? So, my expectations for that offense is they're going to put up some numbers. This is probably going to be the best season for Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and probably for Bijan Robinson as well, because they have that really good offensive line as well. So, they have a lot of pieces in place. Now, would I say that they are, a Super Bowl team or a playoff caliber team? No. But I could probably see them sneaking into the wild card. I could. Because when you look at it, for one, the division is weak. The only team that you probably would have to worry about in that division is probably the Buccaneers. About the Saints, because the Saints are in some ways trying to go through a rebuild as well. They're not saying it, but that's probably their best course of action at this point. And then the Panthers. The Panthers are too young, inexperienced, and they just don't have it. Now that's not saying that that they won't in the future, but you still have a quarterback that's still trying to get his feet wet within his career. The defense isn't intact, and I'm gonna put this out there. As back row dominance, I have to put on my predictions when they come to mind. I do believe teams like the Panthers will become sellers. I do believe that. I truly do, because when you have pieces like J.C. Horn, who they're probably not going to pay, and other players on that team that they're probably not going to pay, trade them. Trade them, get some picks for it, and then try to flip those picks so you could try to do something with it. Because again, there's been a lot of turnover with the Panthers lately. You got Bryce Young, okay, cool. You get Deontay Johnson, okay, cool. They tried to prioritize a little bit more with the offense, okay, cool. But there's still a lot of holes on that team that need to be filled. It is. There's still a lot of problems on that team that really needs to be addressed that not a lot of people are talking about. And this isn't an overnight thing. This isn't it's going to take two seasons, and we'll be back on our feet. This is going to be a long and drawn out process, but things could be shortened just a little bit if they hit on their picks, if they hit on free agency, if they actually start to develop a level of chemistry and consistency, not only on the field but also in the front office as well. Because whether we want to admit it or not, the play on the field is just as important as what the front office moves are making. If the front office moves are somewhat, not necessarily the best moves, but they're very weird and unexpected and whatnot, that can mess up whatever chemistry that is on the field. And we've seen that we've seen that sometimes. The Panthers, since that crazy year when they went to the Super Bowl, it's just been like a nosedive, right? You had Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was doing his thing. Then he went through a period where he couldn't stay healthy. Okay, cool. You move off of Christian McCaffrey, and then you're still trying to find yourself. Still trying to find yourself. You get Matt Rule. You make him the head coach. That ends horribly. Then you get Baker Mayfield. That ends horribly. Then you trade all the way up to get the first pick in the draft to get Bryce Young, but that was only because the owner wanted Bryce Young and Frank Wright, wanted somebody different and whatnot. So it's just been a never ending whirlwind of just mess. So maybe this is probably the point where they're probably going to be like, okay, we're going to do things different. We're going to do things the right way. So we'll just wait and see. But back to the Falcons. The Falcons have a very potent defense. They do. They have a very potent defense. They have a defense that's going to make plays, that's going to create pressure, that's going to be able to make big time plays, while at the same time impose their will on the offense. They can do that with that defense. And especially you have someone like a Raheem Morris, whew, it's going to be problems. It's going to be big problems. Now, moving on to the Cowboys, because yes, we do have to talk about the Cowboys. So, Jordan Phillips, I think he was, what was he? The Giants? Yep. Former Giants defensive tackle was traded, okay, to the Cowboys. And so the Cowboys get a seventh round pick for 2026, and the Giants receive a sixth round pick for 2026. Now, when you look at this is more of a depth piece more than anything. It's not necessarily something that's going to be earth shattering or anything of that nature. This is more to fill in the void that is on that defensive line, because that defensive line has been banged up lately in training camp. And so, they need they need more bodies at this point, not only for training camp but possibly for the regular season, right? And so you have that mixed with, a lot of uncertainty on the team on both sides of the ball. Like, there's a lot going on with this Cowboys team. It really is. Not to mention they also got Carl Lawson as well. Now, I have been trying to do a little bit of digging on what exactly the structure of his deal is. Haven't been able to find it, but once I do find it, of course, I will let you guys know. But these are two moves to try to beef up that defensive line as best as possible. Because let's be real here, folks. This is a make it or break it year for the Cowboys. It is. It's a make it or break it year for Mike McCarthy and a lot of people, a lot of personnel, because Jerry has a choice. Jerry has to make a choice. Okay, and that matter of fact, that's gonna be the title for this podcast. Make a choice. Bam. Best podcast in the world. Just did that. Jerry has a decision that he has to make, right? Either he does something different and he lets go of his ego a little bit, or he continues to go down the same path that he goes and he, does not get anywhere far. That's the decision that he has to make at this point, because, look, the Eagles are still going to be competitive, regardless of what we say or do, okay? They're still going to be competitive. And you have to figure out what you're going to do. You do. The Commanders are somewhat going through a little bit of a turnover, but they have upside with theirs, right? That roster is a mixture of old and young players, but there's more young players than old players, right? The Giants are super dysfunctional, so you really don't have to worry about the Giants. The only team you have to worry about is the Commanders and the Eagles. That's it. And we cannot say that the Cowboys have been devoided of talent and whatnot. That's not a lie, because why? Every 5 to 6 years, Jerry Jones builds what? A top 5 or top 3 offensive line. He always does that. Always. There's always talent on a Cowboys roster. But what we cannot do is sit here and continue to try to go through the same thing year after year, which is, Jerry basically has his hand in the decision making for the head coach. You just can't. At this point, you need to make the best decision possible for the team. Not for your ego, but for the team. And who could that be the best option? Maybe by Mike Vrabel, next year, or someone like a Bill Belichick. Because at this point, you need somebody that can rule that team with an iron fist, that has the attitude and the mindset to be able to deal with the antics that comes with the Cowboys. That's what you really need. You need someone like a Bill Belichick, regardless of all the things that happen in New England. And trust me, there is a bunch of stuff that happened in New England. The X's and O's, Bill still has that down intact. I don't care what anyone says. Bill is still a dangerous head coach when you give him adequate weapons. When you give him some pieces, if the Patriots had a Michael Parsons on that defense, mixed with a Trevon Diggs and a Deron Bland, I guarantee you that defense would be top 10. Guarantee it. Because Bill has shown that he can take players that nobody knows about, players that are, 5th, 6th, 7th, or undrafted, right? And will turn them into premier all-pro players. He has done it. He has done it. And so if you get someone like a Bill Belichick, but you tell him, hey, Bill, you handle the coaching, we'll handle the front office stuff. Okay, cool. Compared to, running with Mike McCarthy and thinking that, things are going to change. Things are not going to change. They're not. They haven't changed. If they weren't going to change last year or the year before that, what do you think they're going to do this year? And this year, there's more on the line than what it was the last 2 years. Because why? Dak could potentially be a free agent after this season. CeeDee Lamb is looking for a deal, but you also have to worry about Micah Parsons as well. If you let Micah Parsons walk, that is a problem. That is a big problem because there will be at least 50 with their checkbooks in their hand waiting to give him a deal, waiting to reset the market for Micah Parsons. That's what it boils down to, folks. I really want you guys to think about this. Micah Parsons has a lot of upside to his game. And I'm telling you, if he gets into the hands of someone like a Bill Belichick, oh my God, you have a problem on your hands. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Micah Parsons was to stay in the division and maybe go to Washington in order to follow Dan Quinn. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. I wouldn't. So there's a lot of moving pieces, with this Cowboys team that they have to figure out. And this isn't going to be just an overnight thing. No. That's why you really didn't see them be as active in free agency. Because why? They were trying to figure out how they're going to, turn mud into gold, basically. Because you got to pay Dak $60 million. You got to pay CeeDee Lamb $30+ million. And you're going to have to probably reset the market for Micah Parsons. So that's 3 players that you're going to have to reset the market for. And Jerry Jones does not like to do it, but he will pay his own players. He may not like it, but he knows he has to do it. But at the same time, the Cowboys put themselves in this situation because why? You knew that once Justin Jefferson, once Justin Jefferson was going to play, that last year and basically take a bet on himself. You knew you should have started contract negotiations then, because you knew that if it was to go the way that it did, guess what? Justin Jefferson was going to reset the market. No questions asked. No questions asked. He was going to reset the market. So you should have had those talks prior to that, because why? You will be in a situation where you're comfortable, where you don't have to put out as much money as you do now. Now you have to put out almost $36 million. CeeDee Lamb has already said he wants to reset the market. He's already said that. Same thing with Micah Parsons, and I think Dak has said it as well. You have a lot of tough decisions that you have to make, Jerry. It sucks, but this is what happens when you get superstars. You got to pay them superstar money. You may not like it, but that's what you have to do, Jerry. Malno, linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, has unfortunately tore his bicep. There is no timetable of when exactly he will return, but there is a possibility that he can return later into the season. Now, when we look at this, this definitely puts a lot of pressure on the Bills to figure out exactly what do they want to do now, because the Bills have lost a lot of their key players in this offseason, right? They had to let go of Trey White because injuries started to pile up, and his just everything about to decline, as well as he was carrying a large cap hit. They had to let go of both of their safeties. Trey Edmonds, he hit free agency, I think, a year before and whatnot. They overpaid for Von Miller. Yes, I'm saying it. They overpaid for Von Miller. They never should have paid Von Miller that much money. And so now you're trying to figure out exactly how you're going to put things together, right? Now you have to rely on your rookies to step up more to fill in the void that's now left with this Matt Milano situation. And granted, I understand that the Bills are still a very, competitive team, and they're still a dangerous team. I get all of that. But now this puts more pressure on Josh Allen and that offense to do more. And now I would not be surprised if the Bills rely more on their run game to sort of not only chew on the clock, but to wear down on defenses and to give their defense a little bit more breathing room instead of trying to, throw the ball 30, 40, 50, 60 times. If I can make a prediction, I would not be surprised if the Bills start snooping around and trying to see if they can maybe snatch up one of these middle linebackers that may get cut, or maybe try to see if they can facilitate a trade for a middle linebacker, because at this point, they have a lot of glaring holes on that team, both, in the secondary, on the line, and in the middle. And, this isn't something that, is going to, that can be patched up with just one person and whatnot. Like, no, they're going to have to be buyers. They're going to have to be buyers as well. That, and you know what, I might have to do an episode for that for, probably during the season, buyers and sellers, during the trade deadline, which actually, you know what, that's a great idea. See, this is exactly why this is the best football podcast. Because why? We come up with ideas while we're recording the episode, man. Come on. But let's be real here, folks. The Bills definitely they're starting to decline a little bit. They are. Their window, to me, is closing rapidly, right? That one year where they went up against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship and they lost overtime, due to Tyreek Hill's punt return, that was the year that they should have went to the Super Bowl, because that was when Josh Allen was playing at his best. The offense was dangerous as well as the defense, right? Now it's just somewhat gone down in a nosedive. And granted, I understand, they drafted Keon Coleman and they got Curtis Samuel and they got Mac Hollins and, all those different type of people. Get all of that and more. But the fact of the matter is, they are, they're not there. They're just not. They're not there. They are not there. They are be a little bit more aggressive in trying to, fill in those voids. They're going to have to. If they really want to be able to make a deep playoff run, they're going to have to. Not only are they going to have to win their division, but they're going to have to come out gun swinging during the season. They have to. They have to streak, because if they don't, if they start out slow, it's going to put more pressure on them to show up during the later part of the season, which you don't want. You want to come out guns blazing and sort of, not necessarily just chill, but somewhat, like ease up just a little bit, just so everybody can, remain healthy. That's my question. Because he has a lot of figuring out to do. Okay, granted, you got let go of. No, I can't even speak. They let go of Stephon Diggs. Okay, cool. Now you got this problem. So what exactly are you going to do to address this problem? Now let's talk about this Eagles and Patriots game. I did like some of the quarterback play. It was actually pretty good. Drake May definitely showed a little bit, but I don't know if I want to see more of him, but I think, well, yeah, I do. I do want to see more of him. I want to see more reps. I want to see him play at least. I want to be able to see, okay, can he do this? Can he do that? Can he roll out of the pocket? Can he make the necessary throw? Can he execute the play? Can he read the defenses and whatnot? That's what I want to see, because as of right now, it is Jacoby Brissett's job to lose, right? And, I understand that they definitely invested a lot of resources into getting Drake May. I get all of that and respect that. However, I'm just not comfortable with this pick. I'm not. I feel like the Patriots probably should have went after Jayden Daniels, honestly speaking. I think if they would have went after a Jayden Daniels, I think it definitely would have taken that offense to the next level compared to a Drake May, who I don't know. Maybe I gotta look at more tape, which I probably will, but I just don't see it with Drake May. I don't know what it is. I just don't see it. And as far as with their receivers, more of them, I want to see their route running expand more. I just want to see more. And there's a lot of upside with this. As long as they continue to maintain this course, they'll be in the right situation. However, if they stray away from it, you are going to see the worst of it. And it's not going to be good, honestly speaking. Now, when we look at the Eagles, I'm going to have to say it. Eagles fans, you can agree with me, you cannot agree with me, but I feel like Tanner McKee is a little bit better than Kenny Pickett. I'm just saying. Just saying, folks. just saying, just looking at it, because Taylor McKee looks like he is, he can be a number two quarterback. That's what he looks like. Kenny Pickett looked like he still has regressed. I'm sorry. Call it what it is, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all for Kenny Pickett. I don't know if it's his mechanics. I don't know what it is, but it's just not good. Okay, you're talking about someone that was 11 for 13, 67 yards. He averaged 5.2 yards a play. His longest play was 19 yards, and he had no touchdowns, and he was sacked 4 times. That's what Kenny Pickett did, right? And to me, that's just not good enough. It's not. You were a former first round pick, and you are being basically beaten out by Tanner McKee, right? Tanner McKee, on the other hand, was 15 for 19. He had a 79% completion percentage, right? 140 yards, right? Now, granted, he didn't have a touchdown as well, but he averaged 7.4 yards a play. Like, I'm sorry, like I just, you know what? This is the perfect time for me to say it. I told you so. I told you so. Every single person that said, Kenny Pickett is this, Kenny Pickett is that, I told you so. I told you that Kenny Pickett was not worth a first round pick. I told you that he had a lot of mechanical things that he had to work on, that he does not see the field well, that he does not execute well, and that he does not read defenses well. I told people that leading up to that draft, and everyone's like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, what do you know?" I'm telling you from what I've seen. Kenny Pickett is not all that. He's just not. I'm sorry. Kenny at best probably should have been a second or third round pick, and I feel if he would have sat that year behind Mitchell Trubisky, maybe maybe you would have had a better version of him. And then, not to mention, he also had a crappy offensive coordinator who really wasn't a real offensive coordinator. I feel like I'm supposed to do that. I feel like Kenny Pickett's career so far has definitely been rocky. And I feel like a lot of times he walked into a situation where, you had this veteran quarterback, but even the veteran quarterback hasn't had a whole lot of success, right? And so he bust himself. So, there's not a whole lot of, learning that he can learn from a bust, compared to if Ben was still there and he sat under Ben. I feel like it probably could have been a better situation, honestly. But you were trying to compete with Mitchell Trubisky. Okay, cool. You get put into you get put into you get put into the game after the Jets lost. Okay, cool. And from there on, you're just going on this roller coaster ride of, people love you, they hate you. People love you, they hate you. They love you, they hate you. They love you, they hate you. You're doing good, you're doing bad. You're doing good, you're doing bad. You're doing okay, you could do more. It was just a never ending roller coaster ride for Kenny Pickett. And a lot of that definitely has to fall on the Steelers' shoulders, just because of the situation that they put him in. When you give him a crappy offensive coordinator, and you just don't try to work with him, this is what happens. And I can feel bad for Kenny Pickett, but at the same time I can't. And I've been pretty reserved on this simply because I can't really respect somebody who strayed away from competition. Right? Let's just call it for what it is. I understand this is somewhat of a tangent. I've been going on tangents, long enough now, but that's just what it is. Kenny Pickett strayed away from competition, right? The team didn't do this, out of spite. They gave you a heads up. They said, "Hey, we're going to bring somebody in who is going to push you, and we're going to have a real quarterback competition." They brought in an old Russell Wilson, who had probably one of his worst seasons so far in his entire, right? And You're thinking that, oh, he's gonna take my job, this, that, and the other. No, they gave you a heads up. You knew what was getting ready to happen well before everybody else did. So you should have came in with the mindset that you were going to actually, really compete and whatnot. And even if you lost it, guess what? You're learning from literally one of the best quarterbacks that you can learn from. A person who was going to show you, hey, this is what you do in this situation. Hey, this is what you do when you see this coverage. Hey, this is how you make this play. This is how you make this throw. This is how you can, better prepare yourself for these types of games and this different types of environment. All those different types of things. But you took that as an offense and you wanted out. And now you're in a situation where you're competing to either be the backup or the third best option. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day, folks. So I'm gonna get off my little soapbox about Kenny Pickett because nobody cares and everybody has their own opinion. That's perfectly fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So let's just see what happens. I could be wrong, right? So I'll just end it here. I know there's more games on Saturday. I know the Steelers play the Bills on Saturday, so I'll probably be watching that. I'll probably watch all the games if I can, and probably talk about each and every one, and probably take some notes down and whatnot, and just go from there. But I'm going to end it right here. If you guys like what you are listening, please like, share, subscribe. Leave a 5-star review wherever you guys listen to the Football Junkies podcast. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere that you can get your daily Football Junkies fix. As always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys love and need. What a great way to end the week with a bag alert and some breaking news. Unfortunate news for Matt Malno, but speedy recovery for him. To my YouTube people, like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on. Share it to somebody. I can't even speak. Share it to somebody. Leave a comment below. What are your opinions about it? Let me know. Let's debate this thing out. To my TikTok people, do the same thing as well. Like, subscribe. Subscribe, not for that. No, follow me. Leave a comment below. Do interact with this stuff, okay? So we can have a healthy debate about these different types of topics and whatnot. And as always, you can follow us on all of our socials. You can follow us on Instagram at football_junkiespod. Again, that is football_junkiespod. Junkies pod is not spaced out. It is all together. You can follow us on TikTok as well, football_junkiespod. You can follow us on YouTube at football_junkiespod. Now on the YouTube and the Instagram, there is a link tree. You click on that link tree, it will take you to all of the available links that we have available right now. We're currently going to try to work on trying to see if we can add the link for the TikTok as well, just so people can just keep the cycle going. Let's see, is there anything else? Did I dot every I, did I cross every T? Yes, I did. Yeah, I think I did. All right, as always, I love you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Peace.